We're back with Bobby and JJ Radio. We're speaking with Omar Gonzales and Drew Hicks, and they gave us just a little taste of what's happening in the Hemisfair Park downtown. If you missed any of this, or Lorenzo Gomez from Geekdom, you can go to our website, which is bobbyandjradio.com, and join us as a guest or become a fan of the show. We're going to go into some of the impact that this Hemisfair Park project is happening downtown. Let's talk a little bit about the tourism, and let's talk about some of the housing that's going to be available here.
Cool. So right now, I think of, being a local in San Antonio, and it's not often that you go to the Riverwalk or you go downtown,
Sure.
kind of historically. But now there's so much cool stuff happening, whether it's on the Pearl or Southtown or, Esquire Bar. I mean, there's just so much cool things happening in downtown. And so it's starting to really get this vibe that we have tourists, and they'll always be in San Antonio, 30 million tourists a year.
Right.
And we do a great job of promoting San Antonio as a tourist
Sure.
destination. But what's changing now is the locals are starting to move into downtown, and we're starting to open up our own businesses, and we're starting to look for places for us to go and hang out and chill. And so this is a big piece of why Hemisphere exists. So overall, we want to add about 2,000 new residences.
Wow.
Downtown. We want to open up park space that will total almost 20 acres of park. And then we also want to bring in a lot of local businesses. And so we love this idea that you can be a shop owner, you can have a cool idea, and we'll give you the canvas to present that. We'll have a lot of public art. We'll have a lot of areas for recreation. We think health and diet is really important these days, as San Antonio is starting to learn. And we're giving them that opportunity to go out and do some really cool stuff in downtown.
Sure.
Well, like a lot of people don't really know San Antonio downtown has really changed in the past 5 years. I live downtown now. So when I get friends and family that come over and they haven't seen, there's been changes to everything. The old Joski's has changed. Market is completely changed. The park's changing. Everything. There's so much to do now. You can actually walk and do stuff. So I think this is going to be huge. It's going to add to that whole downtown living.
It's definitely increasing the quality of life, and Lorenzo talked about density, and it's giving us some of those economies of density. But we really do want to build a place that's for all San Antonians. That's really critical. So not just luxury high end stuff. We don't want it to just be a fancy destination. We really envision it as some place where people can live and work and really like you're saying, really spend their lives here. And so a critical piece of that is we've adopted what we're calling a workforce housing policy. That at a minimum, any developer who comes in to build residences has to dedicate at least 10% of those to essentially workforce housing. So the prices of those homes would be adjusted for the median income of San Antonio,
Right.
Which is great. Now, if developers come in and they want to do more than 10%, we score them higher. And
Sure.
so if they're smarter than us and they can figure out a way to do it, man, everybody wins.
What about businesses too? You guys were talking about if to accept a business in the area, if they're going to have, they're going to dedicate
Right.
some job laborers to that.
Well, yeah,
demographic.
we're using local businesses first and foremost. There's not going to be chain stores or anything like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we're looking for local vendors and entrepreneurs, people who either want to expand their business into Hemisphere, they see the opportunity, or maybe they want to start a new business. Maybe somebody from Geekdom, right, is going to come down and open up their first storefront there, or start their business there.
Sure. Or like a kite store. Like
Exactly.
why not? Like if you have that much lawn space, I mean, you need a kite store.
We actually have a table that's being made that is the shape of a kite, and it's going to be a metal table.
Awesome.
And on the kite, it'll have instructions on how to build your own kite.
Sure.
How cool is that?
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So if I'm a San Antonio resident or like Bobby that lives downtown, am I going to have to pay some more taxes, you think?
So that's the beauty of this park, and I think it's what's super unique about it is that because of the development around the edges of the park space, that money that comes from development will actually pay for all the operations, maintenance, and activation of the park space. So we're not raising any taxes. We're not charging anyone. So San Antonians can always use it free of charge, welcome whenever they want. Obviously, we'll have some events and stuff that may require you to buy a ticket, but the park will always be open to the public. And I
Sure.
think that's the really important piece of it.
So we
Yeah,
said
it's-
$800 million project, and it's all coming from.
Well, there's two pieces of that. There's about a $400 million chunk, which is public bond and the hotel occupancy tax. And then the remainder of that is we're trying to raise through philanthropic gifts and endowments to really keep the district alive. But our anticipation is that by 2020, the Hemisphere district will be entirely self-funded, which means we're not a drain on taxpayers. We never have to worry about funding getting pulled. We don't have to keep going back to city government and saying, hey, can we have a little more? Hey, can we have a little more? The beauty of this place is that it will last. It'll be a multi-generational space.
So, Drew, do you think it's going to be self-sufficient? And if so, how is it going to self-sustain itself?
Absolutely. So financially, we've kind of already covered, these developable parcels will actually be generating income for the district,
right,
and helping us to pay for the public space so that everybody can use it. But a huge part of this is environmental sustainability too. So there's going to be water features. There's obviously going to be a tremendous amount of plant life. All of that water is coming from recycled sources, and we're building with our climate and with our environment in mind to ensure that it's not a drain on the taxpayer, but it's also not hurting the environment, and hopefully bringing some green space into our downtown.
For sure.
I thought it was going to be like maybe wishing wells, and you just collect change, and that should sustain the whole.
You let me know how that goes, man.
Well, you probably noticed from our .org that we are a nonprofit 501c3, and so one of our legs of getting funds is through fundraising. And so what's really important is I think that the community realizes how vital having a really strong downtown core is for San Antonio. And I think people will start putting their money into that.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we have a sister company called the Hemisfair Conservancy. It's also a 501c3. They're sort of the philanthropic arm of what we're doing. So if folks do want to get involved, they can go to hemisphere.org. They can email us at info@hemisphere.org, or they can go to the Hemisfair Conservancy, and soon they'll be able to donate. Are we taking? I don't know if we're taking donations.
Oh,
yet.
yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
Coming soon.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for the Hemisfair Conservancy.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Omar Gonzales and Drew Hicks, and they're talking about everything downtown Hemisphere Project. Now, what about this historic sites downtown? Are you just going to knock them all out, or what's going to happen to them?
We're being very intentional about historic buildings. And so the buildings that were built prior to the 68 fair will all remain in Hemisphere. And like Drew said, we actually want to activate them so that they have a purpose for today. And if you go by Hemisphere today, you notice a lot of boarded up windows and neglected buildings. That's not the future. The future is really to have some great businesses and some great opportunities to activate those spaces. Now, the questions that we get all the time are, what are you going to do with the buildings that were built for the 68 fair, like the today's federal courthouse building,
right,
or the ITC building?
The federal building?
And so both of those buildings, all of those buildings are outside of our actual property ownership. So we like to look at them and dream and think about what they could be. But the reality is we've got so much on our plate right now that we're not focused on what's going to happen.
We can make it a
in those
Starbucks
properties yet.
No, only local.
Not going to
bro.
happen, yeah.
Only local. Yeah, but it's not. It's also the Magic Theater, right? And the Instituto Cultural de Mexico.
So all the tenants that we have on site, yeah, you
Say
nailed
that
that
again?
one.
No, I can't. I just
One and done.
I just blacked out. Dude.
Omar can do it. Omar showed us that
Instituto Cultural de Mexico.
Wow, dude, that's a good voice, dude.
That was my radio voice.
You can sell a lot of products, and like
I'm
right now,
buying-
I'm thinking a lot of products that you should be selling just naturally on the street.
So those tenants we want to keep at Hemisphere, they may not necessarily be in the right building or the right
Right.
location, but we love the energy of having all these different global and cultural organizations at Hemisphere. And so we want to continue that.
And so, question to either one of you: why is this taking so long to happen in San Antonio? Like, why has this acreage has been neglected for so long and nothing's happened?
Man, it's a good question. It's a complicated question.
Thank you.
It's taken a long time to build a consensus, I think, around what that space really should be. And like anything with local government, there's a lot of hoops to jump through. But, I can say today, I think, without a doubt, the right team has come together, and that's been a huge part of it. We've assembled just a really incredibly bright group of people.
Is that just because you just joined?
I mean, it was just a wreck before I got there, but I sorted them out.
Okay.
No, but we're working with a lot of really incredible partners to help us design this and really to deliver the best project. So I think it's taken a little while for the momentum to get going, but I mean, this thing's rolling.
So there's been a dozen master plans done over the last 40 years.
I made a few and none of them went through.
No.
Exactly. Well, our favorite one, which may have been submitted by you, was to have a nude beach.
Yeah.
in
That
Hemisphere.
was me.
Yeah,
That-
I
that-
thought it seems like
It was
would.
nude
you had
beach,
my
basketball court,
I
and,
was-
and brothel. It
I was
like-
in great shape, and I wanted nothing.
And so the difference today is that we have funding.
Sure.
So thank you to all the people who vote. They approved the 2012 bond, and there was $30 million allocated towards Hemisphere in that bond. So we will come back to voters, I'm sure, because we do need more capital. But encourage you all to vote, encourage you all to reach out to your city council members Tell them how happy you are to have a place downtown that'll be for you and your family, and encourage them to continue supporting Hemisfair.
So that's how they can get involved, is to contact their city council members, and that's how they can help this project go through.
We'd love for people to call or write to their city council person and say, hey, I heard about this Hemisfair thing. I'm really excited about it. Please support that. Obviously, they can go to hemisphere.org. There's a ton of info up there. Please give through the Hemisfair Conservancy.
Sure.
And then, move downtown, man. It's all happening.
Great. We're going to have you guys back, too, to see how everything's coming along, but we really appreciate you guys coming here to the radio show. This has been one of the shows that we've been really looking forward to doing.
Thanks, guys. This has
Great.
been
Thanks
awesome.
for having us.
All right, everyone, if you missed anything, go to bobandjjradio.com, and we'll definitely see you next week.